Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4. Kaiserreich is United Baltic Duchy. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, Black Monday has affected our country pretty badly. Do we actually have anything to deal with Black Monday in here? Let me just take a quick look. Black, yes. You guys down here do. We gotta empower von Stalkenberg. And what do we need? We need to enforce this, and then we're going to need to do the permanent government coalition. Or permanent government commissions, which we're actually going to need to eliminate the unnecessary honorifics first. So actually a lot of stuff we got to do. Are you not... Wait, let me see. Is this not, you? It is. But you're Roman Von, but that's Rolf Von. So you just have the same last name, but you're a different person. Okay. Disagreements with the Democratic Coalition have spurred Rolf, I'm just going to call him Rolf, the Land Marshal of the Baltic Landstag, to act. In secret, he met with Adolf Peter von Plitschel and Wilhelm Robert von Bullermernick, the Knight Captain of Livonian Knighthood and leader of the Conservative People's Party, respectively, secured their support for the Gambit. Standing before the extraordinary session of Landstag, von Sternberg announced that he exerts his prerogative as Land Marshal to dismiss the Covenant of Land Administration from the session and remove all legislative projects initiated by the Democratic Party from the scheduled session. Effectively nullifying all their power over the Landstag, the Reform Party, which von Sternberg represents, has crossed benches and formed majority with the DBVP and representatives of the Knighthoods, denying the Liberal Coalition legislative power as well. Instead of resigning, allowing the four Knighthoods to appoint new Covenant Chairman von Samsig Himojurna has chosen to fight. The executive government has been paralyzed and a political battle for attrition begins. Who are these people? Sets political power to 0. Stability goes down by 10. Political power gain minus 100. And locks dualism decisions. Well, is there anything I can spend 20 political power on right now? No. So we'll see who the hell this guy even is. The Caucuses of Reaction, Sternberg and Pikachu. That looks a lot like Pikachu every time I see it. Two members of the most powerful families in the Baltic nobility, holding different positions and telling different backstories, stand united to defeat Schliemann and restore what they believe to be the righteous path of tradition. Born in 1880, Baron Rolf Edward Clemens von Herbert Sternberg, a native of the city of Revel, hails from a branch of famous noble houses von Eugen Sternberg. Educated as a road construction engineer, he became a diplomat for the Imperial Russian Diplomatic Service and spent 20 years of his life traveling across the planet as an envoy for two monarchies, first the Russian and then the Baltic. These travels saw him walk the streets of Constantinople, Paris, Lisbon, and even Nagasaki, where he spent almost half a decade of his life. After visiting his distant cousin in Mongolia, they're part of the same family. Distant cousin in Mongolia, a turn of events in which the House of Sternberg still finds hard to come to terms with, Rolf returned to his homeland, those 2 decades leaving him a changed man. The Baron had the stature and wit of an Etrud, knows several languages, and spends his free time writing poetry. But all his experiences in the world only strengthen his belief that the traditions of the Baltic Duran people are exemplary and must be defended against liberal encroachment. Born in 1885, Baron Adolf Constantine Theodor Pilar von Pichu. He has like 5 names. I guess von is probably not a name. It's the son of Adolf Pilar von Pichu, the founding father of the Baltic Duchy. Its first and longest lasting head of government. It is the fact which von Pichu always mentions. It is the fact which propelled him to a political career in the Livonian Knighthood, and is the fact which built him to be an arrogant, self-absorbed snob. Out of all the leaders of the 4 Knighthoods, he is the least afraid to use his power, assured that it cannot backfire against him, and that the cause he fights for is right. Having supported his father's decision to banish Paul Schliemann in 1917, Pichu supports a rivalry with him to this day. So, the dualism. The antiquated, nightmarish government system of the duchy and the stubbornness of Chairman von Samson Himojurna combined have led to the period of dualism settling in our country. The Democratic Party lacks majority in the Landstag and has no way of pushing through laws and projects, just as they do not have legislative initiative or Landstag dissolution powers, but the conservative-controlled Landstag has no way of removing the incumbent covenant from power, as that requires the assent of the Knighthoods and the Duke, not them. The power struggle is thus broken out within the upper echelons of the government and needs to be resolved lest our country fall into anarchy. While dualism and activism is impossible to gain political power normally, it can only be gained through decisions. in which you can make various concessions to parliamentary groups in order to receive your support. You need to receive a specific number of political power before Duke Adolf Friedrich loses all faith in the liberal dream. To keep track of your stability, should it dip below a certain point, this rotten structure may finally collapse. Well, that seems like a bad thing. So, we need 150 political power to retake the Landstag. So right now, let us reach out to the Knighthoods. The palace takes note. In 180 days. So we have about half a year to deal with this situation. So we can't do any of this at the moment. So I guess we're going to focus on professional armies. That to me seems like the better course for us for now. And apparently Revo's the best naval base. So you know what? You guys just come up here. And then you can combine. We'll set an admiral into leading the fleet. That's okay. That seems good enough for me for now. So right now, we basically don't gain political power, which is probably not fantastic. So let's reach out to the landowners. Knighthood seeks to blackmail Democratic bloc. The Baltic Knighthoods are corporations of Baltic nobility, divided between the 4 historical provinces of the Baltic German lands, counting 700 years of tradition and deeply concerned with maintaining these traditions. They are the most paramount force of conservatism within the duchy, and only the Christian extremists and pan-German Baltic Brotherhood may be considered more reactionary. Despite this, however, the knights and knight captains of the 4 Knighthoods are pragmatic people willing to consider a compromise even with the liberals if they are deeply disgusted of. In a smoke-filled room, representatives of the Baltic Knighthoods present this rather simple request to us. Throughout the last decade, the resurgent Democratic bloc has slowly been making gains in provincial elections, controlling several parish assemblies, and even sending more than a handful of representatives to the cantonal Landstags. This rise of Latvian and Estonian nationalism is deeply concerning to the nobility, but they have a solution. Thanks to their extensive webs and contracts, they will be able to dig dirt on the Latvian and Estonian representatives. All they need to do is dutifully force them to resign. In exchange for this stab in the back of the bloc, the Knighthoods promise to support the Landstag. So we gain 50 political power, we're going to lose some stability. If it means cleaning out of corruption, yeah, stab them in the back. That seems okay. Decaying public finances. The freedom of governance at the top has begun to affect public services at the very bottom. Issues starting to rise with ordinary distribution of public finances, schools, hospitals, and postal offices, and other institutions seeing greater and greater delays in funding. The raging economic crisis only makes matters worse. The rank-and-file members of the Democratic Party are calling for us not to forget the average person and dial down the hostile political battle in the Landstag somewhat to prevent this crisis from breaking the nation apart. While we cannot pass anything through the Landstag, perhaps we can alleviate the situation by spending more of our time convincing the cantons to pick up the slack. The nation must pay for the toll of freedom. Well, let's keep going down this path. We'll keep going through this, and we'll see kind of where that ends up. Paley's going to end up with us getting a mechanical computing, which is not bad for us. Okay, let's see the control in Ecuador. Yeah, we don't have any factories to get steel, which means our rifle production is going to be absolutely garbage. But you know what? It's actually not. Yeah, it's like a year and a half. You know what? That's actually not great. The Curian Lobby. While the 4 main lobbies of the Baltic Landstag may be the largest, they are not the only ones. They share space with numerous smaller others, which campaign for their own interests, sometimes vast, sometimes minute. One of the such lobbies controls a small yet notable fraction of the Curian delegation of the Landstag. Coronia has historically been a special case among German Baltic territories. Its history is unique and one of somewhat independent duchy ruled by the House of Buron, when the rest of the Baltics were ruled by foreign powers. Before the United Baltic Duchy was even founded, the Curian Landstag declared the independence of Kurland Semigalia, in a personal union with Germany. Though the emphatic state never really established itself, the ducal title of Kurland Semigalia remains enshrined in the historical heritage of Kurland. The Karolian lobby campaigns for increased Karolian autonomy and respect for Karolian historical traditions, and now they turn to us. We can grant the House of Buron a state pension and promise respect for Kurland's right of autonomy in exchange for the support in the Landstag. You know what? Give me some political power, please and thank you. We're going to reach out to the landowners in just a few more days. Maybe that'll kind of settle things slightly. After that, let's reach out to the coalition. Landowners ask for land exploration help. Expropriation. In an agricultural land such as the Baltic Duchy, those who own land are also often those with a lot of political power. The lobby of the Baltic German lands, barons, agribusinesses, and foreign firms is important within the duchy's politics thanks to their wealth and economic influence. And while they may not be enthusiastic with our liberal reforms, their loyalty, or at least their indifference, is crucial if we want to see them pass. In a smoke-filled room, representatives from the landowner lobby present a rather simple request to us. They need us to turn a blind eye to them buying out the lands of the poor and destitute Latvian and Estonian farmers, increasing their wealth and pastures at the expense of the native population. This would seriously anger the non-German population, but why us to support the landowner representatives in the Landstag. Well, you know what? A few displaced farmers is nothing wrong. You're already a third of the way there. And we're still losing political power, which is bad. But I think you're kind of not bugged per se, but I think it adds one every time we lose some. So it's at least kind of keeping consistency there. Martins Penikis. The lone representatives and Landstag from Kurland, Martins Penikis, that the lobby of his own. This elderly retired former commander of the Imperial Russian Army is most prominent of the so-called Kurian kings. They're descendants from the Kurian nobility, which ruled the region before the arrival of the Baltic Germans. They bear their own coat of arms and consider themselves noble, despite living no better than peasants and being very few in number. Throughout history, the Kurian Knighthood recognized them as a class above the ordinary Latvian peasantry, and yet their rights and powers were eventually eroded with time. Penikins, representing the 600 or so remaining Kurian kings, quest for the noble status of the people to be recognized in exchange. He pledged support for the Baltic German Democratic Party in the Landstag. Sure, it gives us one political power. I'll take it. You're absolutely nobody, but I'll take nobody support over, you know. I still think this works out okay. Coalition endorses Samson Himozhurna. As of the appointment of von Samson Hirajina, the new chairman of the Covenant of Land Administrators, Paul Simon dutifully forged the liberal and mighty Social Democratic Coalition comprised the Democratic Party, Progressive Party, and the Democratic Bloc. Black Monday and the political battles which followed it have shaken the stability of the coalition. However, the idealist hopes of the liberal lobby seem to be appeased as well, if you want to gather the necessary majority in the Landstag. Every room we go into is smoke-filled. The smoke-filled room residents of the liberal lobby inform us that there's no need for appeasement. They are all on the same boat after all, and even some of them may disagree with the government's policy. They'd much rather endorse Samson Hellersen than von Sternberg. Representatives leave us a meeting with good news and more political capital assured. So we're already at 77. We're already doing pretty well. Let's reach out to the coalition a second time. Just, hey, you know, you gave us 25 before. I'll take 25 again. I don't know what this certain point is. We're already at negative 11%, which honestly isn't so bad, I think. Or it being under 0 might actually be considered bad. I'm not too sure. A debate has broken out in the halls of the Landstag. An elderly leader of the Democratic Party is challenged by Volder Posel, leading member of the right-wing Volksparty Party. Posel ascribes himself as an ideological thought of Baron Wilhelm von Fricks, a famous titan of Baltic German politics, who was Scheiman's main adversary until his passing in 1933. The debate soon turned toward the fundamentals of German Baltic politics and the ideological goals of both parties. While Posel and Scheiman agree that the Baltic Germans are a positive presence in the Baltic states and are more worthy of ruling it than the Latvians and Estonians, however, Posel claims that it is a proof of their special position in society. One should be inherit and should remain in the future. Scheiman disagrees, however, stating that while the Baltic Germans inherit the liberal foundations of Germanic culture, there is nothing which prevents Latvians and Estonians from becoming similarly enlightened through education, merit, and absorption of the Baltic German culture. To him, Baltic Germans carry a burden of passing their civilization onto Latvian and Estonian people. Posel calls Scheiman out as a hypocrite. However, if the way for Latvians and Estonians become civilized is through becoming closer to Baltic Germans, then does that not make a pure Baltic German special? It fails to the Landstag members watching the debate to draw the conclusion, and the majority decide that... I mean, right now, like, what are you guys supporting? You are authoritarian democracy, which is 12. Well, you know what? Posel, he makes a good point. I'm sure there's no problem there. The coalition asks us to unseat conservatives. As of the appointment of von Samson Himozhurna as a new chairman of the Covenant of Land Administrators. Is this the exact same Black Monday? I think this is kind of like the same. The first paragraph is exactly the same. In a smoke-filled room, representatives of the liberal lobby, like every room's smoke-filled. While Landstag in Riga may have plurality in seats held by liberal representatives, it's not the case in provincial landstags and landratskollegiums, which are, more often than not, controlled by conservative nobility. Any plan to reform the Dutch will require the coalition to go through with these conservatives, and the liberal lobby wants us to remove some of them, the most prolific conservatives, land administrators, the Duchy cantons, even if they'll leave the conservatives distrusting of us. War support? Oh yeah, we have more than enough war support. Get rid of that shit. After that, let's talk to the business. We have not talked to them quite yet. The Red Gaff. Alexander von Stempig-Firmer has been on the throne, has been a thorn in the side of the Baltic Duchy for much of existence. A Graf of Sweden origin, House of Stempig-Firmer, registered as in the Estonian knighthood, he volunteered to the Bolshevik Landwehr in 1918 like his peers, but the conflict and brutality left him appalled. He went to Germany instead, where he worked as a coal miner in the Rhineland, got to learn about the plight of the lower classes his family used to dismiss, and became a syndicalist. Since then, he's been moved to Berlin, published in avant-garde literature, translating the works of the grand uncle Peter Kopperkin, and writing treaties about the situation back in his homeland. In response to political instability in the United Baltic Duchy, the Red Graf has published a short essay about his views on the Baltic German state and its future under the pseudonym Peter Lorenz. There, he writes that the Baltic German Democratic Party and its reforms are but an attempt by the bourgeois class of the Duchy to prevent the revolution of the proletariat with soulish appeasement. The Socialist tenants, the Byzantine government structure, and the opposition of Latvians and Estonians create a perfect set of conditions for revolutionary liberation of the Baltic states, and he will be eager to support them if that happens. Can the Baltic states actually go syndicalist? That seems bad. One of the most defining features of the United Baltic Duchy since its beginning was its relation with the overwhelming Latvian and Estonian majority. In 1918, the Baltic Germans sought to present the Duchy as an all-Baltic entity, and even co-opted several Latvian Estonians into Pillar von Pechau's Regional Council. The solution rapidly collapsed during the following Latvian-Estonian Wars of Independence. Though suppressed by the Landwehr, the Latvian Estonians did not give up hopes for achieving independence. The organization in exile in Sweden, Russia, and the Internationale continued to push for freedom, even through violent struggle. The paralysis of the central government has finally given the Balts impetus to act. Lieven has suffered a brunt of developing rebellion, and the land administrators there have reported that they cannot control the countryside, as law enforcement agencies have been overrun by ad hoc partisan organizations and underground resistance groups. They have been joined by defectors in Landwehr and armed exiles crossing the Russian border, who are bolstered in the ranks of the partisans with weapons, ammunition, and experience. Supported by many local farmers, they are known as the forest builders, carrying a Robin Hood-like aura around their actions. The government must act immediately before this rebellion becomes uncontrollable. So now I gotta also deal with them as well? The Forest Brothers? Mass insurgency has broken out in the United Baltic Duchy. Hundreds of Latvians and Estonians leave their lives to join the Forest Brothers, an underground partisan resistance organization with the goal of evicting Baltic German rule from the region once and for all. The continued existence of the Duchy now depends on whether the government and the Landwehr are able to control the insurgency in time. The strength and growth of the Forest Brother movement is represented by the resistance in Latvian and Estonian states. It may be combating via normal resistance mechanics or by spending political power to enact anti-partisan measures. Resistance needs to dip below 25% for the Forest Brothers uprising to finally rescind. Should the target reach 75%, on the other hand, the situation will increase critical mass and lead to a collapse of the Duchy. Well, that seems bad. So I guess in occupied territories, we are going to immediately clear martial law. But you're still ticking upwards even with martial law being enacted, which scares me a little bit. Activate mission, the ticking clock. You are all bad, and I don't like any of you. I have 92 political power. Compliance goes up. Let's do some bounty hunting. That seems like a good idea, maybe. An armistice of national unity. News of Forest Brother uprising in Lieven has caused the landslide of the United Baltic Duchy to be completely unprepared, and its lack of action may be considered one of the reasons why the uprising broke out in the first place. The divided landslide is being pressured from outside forces to act, as the Landwehr demands national unity in the face of crisis, and the Duke has stepped out, ordering his government to seek the rapprochement with the right-wing opposition. Leader of Livonia Knighthood, Adolf Constantine Peter von Pechau, made his move first, reaching out to Chairman von Samson Kimojera, directly and offering a deal he could not refuse. For the following 2 months, the landstate will work together to pass laws necessary to restore order to the Duchy. In exchange, both sides will forego building up coalitions and alliances in order to take the other down for the time. Paul Schliemann demands his peers see no compromise. However, according to him, Pechau and Sternberg have taken advantage of the peace scheme behind their backs and to try to take down the government. And perhaps there's reason to fear this, as Pechau is definitely not the type of person to put the country over party. On the other hand, refusing armistice and continuing the political brawl in the midst of the guerrilla war will not bode well for our nation's stability, nor will our forces outside the Landstag approve. Will von Samson Himmelser violate Stevens' orders, or will he put the party above country? Political power, plus 10. Political power gain goes up. We gain stability. I think... I mean, stability's already at -12. For the time being, we'll try to do this. And we have the National Alliance right now, so we're trying to make things less bad for us. And the ticking clock's about to fire. I don't think there's any way we can stop this. Business is asked to end the wage law. The business, large and small, owned by the Baltic Germans in cities such as Riga and Revel, hold considerable influence, both economic and political. I think we already read that part. In a smoke-filled room, representatives of the business lobby present a rather simple request to us. Our businesses and corporations employ a lot of lower-class life in Estonian city dwellers. They keep in relaxed working conditions and pay them smaller wages than their German peers. This order, understandably, is hated by Baltic natives, and their Democratic Party has sworn itself to put an end to these practices in the manifesto. However, should we turn a blind eye to the conditions of the companies owned by the lobby, they promise us crucial financial support. You know what? Give me that political power for right now. And can I actually click this? No, because the National Unity and Armistice. But I do think that for right now, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thank you everybody for watching, my name is Anthem. If you enjoyed, my thumbs up. Not enjoyed, please thumb down. If you want to subscribe, and goodbye.